morning, class. Today we'll be talking about Cipro. Sir, so I gotta use the bathroom. This doesn't feel right. I gotta get home. So what is it, Doc? Is it a kidney stone?
Well, according to the test we ran earlier, it's actually a urinary tract infection. I prescribed you some antibiotics. It's called Ciprofloxacin.
Thanks, Doc. But what does it do?
Ciprofloxacin is a medication taken twice a day by mouth, in eye drops, or intravenously. It is a broad-spectrum antibiotic marketed under the name Cipro. Ciprofloxacin is an antibiotic used to treat various bacterial infections, such as bone and joint infections, intra-abdominal infections, certain types of infectious diarrhea, respiratory tract infections, typhoid fever, and urinary tract infections. Common side effects are nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and rash, and can also increase the risk of tendon rupture. It is in the class of fluoroquinolone antibiotics. In comparison to other classes of antibiotics, it has a higher rate of side effects than some, such as cephalosporins, but lower rate than others, such as clindamycins. Patented in 1980, ciprofloxacin was introduced in 1987 and is seen as one of the most effective and safe medicines needed in the health system. In 1993, the CDC began recommending it for patients with gonorrhea. This medication is available generically and costs 3 to 13 cents per dose in developing countries and 40 cents per dose in the United States. Its sale reached its peak in 2001 at $2.23 billion per year. Afterwards, the original patent expired in 2004, and the annual sales since average around $223 million per year.
So what is ciprofloxacin? It's an antibiotic that targets bacterial growth by inhibiting vital enzymes involved in DNA replication. So once DNA can no longer replicate, these cells can no longer reproduce and it's gonna die. Specifically, ciprofloxacin, or Cipro for short, inhibits topoisomerases 2 and 4. These are the enzymes that remove kinks in DNA, such as supercoils or interlocked rings. So other proteins like polymerase or helicase can have a smoother path when replicating DNA. If the bacteria is gram-negative, the molecules target topoisomerase 2, and if it's gram-positive, topoisomerase 4 is targeted. Let's take a look at the structure of topoisomerase 2, also known as DNA gyrase. As you can see, gyrase is a A2B2 heterodimer complex. How DNA gyrase gets rid of supercoils is like this. One portion of the supercoiled DNA is held by gyrase subunit B, showing green, and subunit A, showing orange, clamps around the other segment and cleaves both strands of the segment. The first portion then drops to the bottom, and the cut segment is repaired. This is how supercoiled DNA gets removed. Cipro targets gyrase subunit A, so the enzyme can't get rid of the supercoils. If you look at the structure of ciprofloxacin, you see that there are 2 oxygen molecules near carbons 3 and 4. And when you look at the DNA's chelated sugar phosphate backbone, you'll see that there's always magnesium ions that help balance out the phosphate charges. Cipro's oxygen molecules will non-covalently bind to these ions, which is how Cipro manages to bind to bacterial DNA. The magnesium ion, the oxygens from Cipro, and the 4 surrounding water molecules make up the octahedral complex that bridges Cipro to gyrase. 2 of these water molecules will bind to serine 84 and glutamate 88 of the enzyme. Luckily for us, human topoisomerases don't have the 2 amino acids, so our own very enzymes will be completely unaffected. You can also see that the bulky epoxide ring and also the other ring attached to the nitrogens. These will act like little wedges to disfigure the DNA and to stop the gyrase from binding.
So now the more Cipro molecules come in, the more these enzyme DNA cleavage complexes are formed. Take in mind that the gyrase is still trying to do its job in cutting both DNA strands and re-piercing them after the supercoil is removed. But these complexes are pretty much breaking the chromosomes instead. This is why Cipro is also called topoisomerase poisons, because these enzymes meant for cellular growth turn toxic for the bacterial cell. Ciprofloxacin is a fluoroquinolone named because the two rings together are called quinoline. Traditionally, drugs based after this molecule did not have a fluorine atom, but it was added to make molecules more potent and to differentiate between the first generation of quinolones with the second generation of fluoroquinolones. Although these drugs are broad spectrum and highly prescribed, there are bad side effects, such as weakening of the tendon or aorta. This can lead to more serious symptoms like nerve pain, but when it comes to getting rid of bacterial infection, it does a great job.
Welcome back to the Jerry Springer Show. If you're just tuning in, here's a brief refresher. Kenny and Natalie have been dating for 3 years, but when ex-boyfriend Brian gets out of prison, things get interesting. Today, they're playing one-on-one basketball for Natalie's love and affection. The score is tied right now, and Kenny has a chance to score. Let's see what's about to go down. Wow, what a finish! Kenny just lost the ball and Brian hit a clutch three-pointer. Kenny must be crushed right now. He just lost his girlfriend over a basketball game. In this video, Brian represents the ciprofloxacin and Kenny represents the bacterial cell. As you can see, Brian tightens up his defense and plays really close to Kenny. This is analogous to the inhibitor using its polar oxygen atoms to bind to the magnesium ions on the bacterial DNA. This intermediate complex then binds to DNA gyrase, which is the target of inhibition. Once DNA gyrase is bound to this complex, it is unable to get rid of supercoils in DNA. With these supercoils still present, transcription proteins such as helicase and polymerase are unable to properly bind to the DNA helix. When Brian restricts airspace and is almost bound to Kenny, Kenny is unable to get a good shot, and he subsequently misses the shot. As a result, Kenny loses the game and is emotionally defeated by the hands of Brian. He really lost his girlfriend over a basketball game on live TV. DNA gyrase was inhibited and the bacterial cell was destroyed, both by the hands of ciprofloxacin.
Oh, hey, Doc.
Oh, hey man, how's it going? How are you feeling?
Feel a lot better. Thanks to ciprofloxacin.